Hi, this is a short demo on how XBRL auto generator works. The starting component of this tool is an executable jar file. What this jar file does is it analyzes the input taxonomy. Uh, it uses Xfont SDK, and using B2B Informatica B2B data transformation, it generates three things. One is the uh, definition scripts of all the facts and dimension tables that are present in the data model. Uh, it creates Power Center workflows that are used to uh, load the XBRL instance file into the data model and vice versa. And it also generates two DT services which are used by these workflows. Let's go ahead and execute this jar file. This tool takes four input fields. First is the root taxonomy directory. Then we provide the root XSD for this taxonomy. Let's pick FinRep ConGap. Third is the output directory where we want to generate our code. Let's create a new one. FinRep output. Okay, let's. Fourth field is the entity resolver path. This is the path of the internet domain. This taxonomy, the institution this taxonomy represents. So in case of FinRep, European Banking Authority is the institution. So we have to provide the internet domain of this with the folder with this name. Before we execute this, one thing you need to make sure is this jar file uses calls two DT services. One is the XBRL data model generator, and one is the XBRL reverse code generator. These are provided you with the tool, and make sure that these are present in your service DB folder where your Informatica B2B data transformation is installed. After that, just click on generate. It will take a couple of minutes to generate the XBRL code. We can go to the output directory and see what's happening. As you can see, there is also a log file being generated and it's getting updated. If this execution fails, you can always go back and check in the log file what caused the error. Let's wait a couple of minutes. As you can see the success message, the XBRL data model has been generated successfully. Click on OK. These are the things that got generated. These two XML files are the Power Center workflows. These two folders are the DT services that are used by these Power Center workflows, and these two are the SQL scripts that contain all the facts and dimension tables definitions for of our data model. And next step is we execute this definition SQL scripts in our database schema, and create all the facts and dimension tables, and import these workflows into our Power Center repository, and deploy these two DT services on a server. This Power Center workflow also uses this lookup file.txt for processing of the XBRL instance file. So we need to place this at some location on a server where Informatica has permissions on it. For the purpose of saving time, I have already imported these workflows and run these SQL scripts in a database schema. Let me show you how these Power Center mappings look like. This is the mapping for generating an XBRL instance file from a database. So these are all the facts and facts tables, dimension tables that are present in our data model. Let me show you the work mapping where we process the XBRL instance file. So it reads from a source file. Here we provide the path of the XBRL instance file we want to load into our data model. It uses a UDT transformation where it calls the DT service that we just generated. In this case, process XBRL instance data, and you can check it here. If this name doesn't appear here, make sure that you deploy this DT service in your local data transformation installation directory as well. Next is we provide the mapping parameters before we run this workflow. This mapping takes 4 mapping parameters. One is the $output path. Here we provide the output path of an intermediate file that gets generated. This is used by the DT service for processing the XBRL instance file. Make sure this path has the permissions for the Informatica has permissions for this path. Second is the jar file path. This jar file is also provided to you before you run this workflow. So deploy this XBRL instance processor pc.jar at a location on your server where Informatica has permissions. Third is again you have to provide the entity resolver path, which has the internet domain of the institution this taxonomy represents. This path has to be at a particular location on the server. So you need to deploy your taxonomy at some location on the server which has permission, where Informatica has permissions. Fourth is the lookup file path. This is the file that got generated through our code. So you provide the path on the server where Informatica has permissions on this as well. Next is you go to the workflow manager. Here you provide the database connections of the data model where you actually created all the facts and dimension tables present in our data model. I have already provided that connection, and also make sure you check the source file that you have given that you want to execute. Here the name of the source file is source XBRL instance. On the server, let's check if what we have in that file. Here we have provided the path of the XBRL instance file. So it reads this, UDT opens this XBRL instance file and processes this and loads into our data model. So next is we run this workflow. Let's go ahead and check the monitor. As you can see, the workflow is running. It will take a couple of minutes to run this workflow. Let me go back and show you how the tables and facts and dimension tables look like in our data model. These are some of the fact tables. The balance sheet, profit and or loss. So each of the fact tables has a batch ID. Each batch ID represents one particular load of the XBRL instance file. You can track this batch ID in an instance batch details table, where we provide the file name of the XBRL instance file that was loaded in this particular batch. And other than that, in the fact tables you have context information like the decimal, the row type information, the type of information this fact carries, the unit ref corresponding to that, the type dimensions if any are involved. These are the identifier for the entity this information represents, the identifier scheme and the identifier. This is the start and end period of, you can call this a validation period, or the duration for which this fact is valid. These are some of the columns that represent all the information that is supposed to be present in the XBRL instance file, like the interest rate. And so this is how the fact tables look like. These are some of the explicit dimension tables, like accounting portfolio. Here are the list of all the possible members that can occur in accounting portfolio. For example, cash and cash balances at central banks. Then we also have a list of validation rules that were applied to this taxonomy. These are loaded as a reference data, so you can check if any of the validation rules get failed. You can check the error log table, and it will give you the validation rule ID, which you can trace it here and check what was the validation rule that has failed. And these are some of the unit ref details that are used in that particular batch. Yeah, let's go back and check the status of a workflow. As you can see, the workflow has succeeded, and we have the latest batch ID, which is 8 for this, and we can see the data has been loaded into our data model. And all the tables got populated with the batch ID 8. Next is when you want to generate the XBRL instance file while reading from this data model. So for this, we use the other mapping, which is create XBRL instance. Again, this mapping reads from all the facts and dimension tables and using a UDT transformation, it generates our XBRL instance file. Make sure you have the UDT service name correct, which we generated. Uh, this is the service that we generated in the FinRep out. Make sure it is deployed on the server. And if this name again doesn't appear, make sure you deploy this service on your local service DB folder as well. Next is we provide the mapping parameters for this mapping as well. The first is the output path. Here you provide the path of the XBRL instance file which you want to generate, some location on the server where Informatica has permissions. Second is the extraction criteria. Here you provide the batch ID for which you want to generate your XBRL instance file. For example, we loaded the latest data for batch ID 8. Let's provide batch ID equal to 8. And next is you provide the jar file path. This is again a jar instance creator.jar file that is provided to you with the tool. We deployed it at a particular location on the server where Informatica has permissions. So we provide the path of that jar file here. And then here the fourth is the full XSD path. This is the path of the root root XSD of the taxonomy this XBRL instance file corresponds to. Since we loaded the FinRep ConGap taxonomy, so here we provide the path of the root XSD file and its location on the server. The fourth is again the entity resolver path. It is again the internet domain of the institution this taxonomy represents on your server. And sixth is the lookup file path. This is the file that was generated by our initial code, and we deploy it on a server where Power Center has permissions. Since we changed the batch ID, okay, click OK. Let's save the mapping. Next is we go to the workflow manager and provide the source connections to all the tables that are present in our data model. As you can see, for all the sources we have used the, sorry, this is the other workflow. Go to the create XBRL instance. In this, as you can see, all the source files have been, all the source tables have been provided a $source variable, so we can define the connection properties of just the $source connection corresponding to our database schema where we loaded our XBRL instance file, and I've already provided that. Next is you just run the workflow. As you can see, the workflow is running. It will take a minute or so. As you can see, it has read the data from all the tables for the batch ID equal to 8. So finally the workflow succeeded. Let's go and check the location we gave where we wanted to create the XBRL instance file. There you go. Here you can see the XBRL instance file has been created. This is how it looks like. It has all the data that is that it read from the data model. And yeah, so this is how you generate an XBRL instance file. So to conclude, you can read an XBRL instance file and load it into your data model through a workflow M process XBRL instance, and you need to import this workflow just once, and you can load as many XBRL instance files that correspond to this particular taxonomy. We use the FinRep ConGap taxonomy. So all the XBRL instance files that are as per this taxonomy, you can just provide the path of all the files, and you can load each of the files into your data model. And similarly, using workflow M create XBRL instance, you can generate as many XBRL instance files that are present in your data model. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.